All right, welcome back everyone for part 2 of our UPSC Current Affairs Deep Dive.
Yeah.
We're tackling the biggest stories from February 5th, 2025.
Lots to talk about today.
Absolutely, and of course everything we cover here is designed to give you the edge you need in those exams.
Exactly.
So with that said, let's jump right in.
Let's do it.
Okay, first up, India is taking a fresh look at its customs tariffs.
Yeah.
Streamlining the whole system and, cutting down on the number of different rates. What's the strategy at play here?
Well, I think it's a really strategic move, potentially. Good for India's economic diplomacy.
Okay.
If you think about it, the U.S. has been kind of leaning on India over trade,
Right.
So by simplifying these tariffs, it shows that India is willing to be a more open and reliable trading partner.
Right. So it's like easing those trade tensions, but at the same time making things simpler for importers.
Exactly.
But then what about domestic industries?
Mm.
I mean, won't they be facing more competition from all these imports?
That's always a risk, right? But the government seems to be betting on things like Make in India to really boost domestic production.
Right.
Make those industries more competitive on a global stage.
So it's a balancing act.
It is for sure.
Trying to boost domestic industries, but also being more active in global trade.
Right.
Okay, let's switch gears now to something that really caught my eye.
Yeah.
India's nuclear energy mission.
Ambitious.
100 gigawatts of nuclear power capacity by 2047.
Huge.
Is that even possible?
It's definitely a bold target,
Yeah.
but I think it sends a very clear signal that India is committed to diversifying its energy sources, moving away from fossil fuels.
Right.
Which really aligns with their long-term goals for development.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, a big piece of this plan seems to be these small modular reactors, the SMRs.
Right.
What's the advantage there?
Well, SMRs offer a lot of flexibility. They
Okay.
can be set up in a lot more locations, even places where the big traditional plants wouldn't work.
Okay.
Plus, the government is really emphasizing developing this SMR technology in India,
Yeah.
giving them more control over the whole process.
So it's about self-reliance.
Exactly.
And maybe even exporting that technology down the line.
Yeah, down the line.
But nuclear power always comes with that question of safety.
Of course.
How is India addressing that?
Well, India has a long history of safe nuclear operations.
Right.
They have a strong regulatory system in place. And these SMRs, they're designed with enhanced safety features,
Okay.
including these passive systems that can automatically shut down the reactor if there's any kind of emergency.
Okay, so it sounds like a cautious approach
Yeah, definitely calculated.
to expanding nuclear power. Right. Zooming out to the global stage for a minute, the EU has just started implementing parts of its AI Act, which is all about regulating artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
Huge implications there.
This is big. It's a landmark moment for tech regulation.
Okay.
The EU is really setting a precedent by taking this proactive approach to AI and the ethical implications, especially in those high-risk situations where AI could impact fundamental rights or even safety.
So it's about setting boundaries.
Yes.
Making sure that AI development doesn't go off the rails.
Exactly.
But how could this impact India's own tech scene, which is growing so rapidly?
Well, India is still working on its own AI policy.
Right.
So they're probably going to take some cues from what the EU is doing.
Mm-hmm.
The AI Act might push India to develop its own framework for managing AI risks,
Right.
balancing innovation with ethical concerns.
So this is a global conversation.
It is.
India can't ignore.
Definitely not.
All right, now for some good news on the conservation front, the International Big Cat Alliance is now officially an international organization.
Huge for conservation.
And it's headquartered right here in India.
Yeah, India is playing a big role.
Tell us more.
So the IBCA brings together 95 countries to protect these incredible animals.
Wow.
Tigers, lions, leopards, you name it. They're working to protect them all.
That's amazing, 95 countries.
Yeah, it's a big collaboration.
It really shows India's commitment to conservation on a global scale.
Absolutely.
Okay, speaking of commitments, the union budget had some good news for the PM Surya Muft Bijli Yojana.
Right, the solar initiative.
This scheme that's aiming to provide free electricity to millions of households through rooftop solar.
Exactly.
Huge funding boost.
Huge boost. It shows the government is serious about solar.
It's a win-win.
Absolutely clean energy, less financial burden on households.
Right.
And it lets citizens be part of the solution.
So it's not just about the environment.
Right.
It's about social and economic empowerment as well.
Exactly.
Okay, another key initiative from the budget, the National Manufacturing Mission.
Yeah, big plans there.
How is this going to impact India's manufacturing sector?
This mission is all about making India a global manufacturing powerhouse.
Okay.
Supporting businesses of all sizes under that Make in India banner.
Right.
It's a big plan to foster innovation, create jobs, and really propel India to the forefront of global manufacturing.
And one of the key focus areas is clean tech manufacturing.
Right.
This is where things get really interesting.
Absolutely. The government wants India to be a leader in making solar PV cells, EV batteries, all those clean technologies.
So not only are we contributing to a sustainable future,
Yeah,
but India could actually challenge China's dominance in this sector.
that's the idea.
Now, before we jump into those quick hits, I want to touch on one more initiative.
Sure.
The government is also pushing a mission for cotton productivity, focusing on a specific type of cotton.
Right.
What's the significance of this?
So this mission is all about improving the quality and yield of Indian cotton,
Okay.
specifically these premium, extra-long, staple cotton varieties.
Okay.
These are the varieties with the longer fibers. They're in high demand in the global textile market.
So it's about producing higher quality cotton,
And-
getting better prices,
Yep.
boosting India's position in the textile industry.
It's a smart move, targeting a niche market where India can really shine.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's switch gears now and look at some other developments from February 5th.
Okay.
The news isn't all positive, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's true.
We have reports of artillery bombardment in South Sudan,
Mm.
raising concerns about stability in the region.
Yeah.
Can you give us some context on South Sudan?
Sure.
It's a relatively new country, isn't it?
It is. They gained independence in 2011, but they've faced a lot of challenges since then.
Okay.
Internal conflicts, border disputes with Sudan.
Right.
It's also landlocked, which complicates things.
So this recent incident
Yeah,
is a reminder of how fragile peace is in that region.
absolutely.
Okay, now back in India, there's a development that has environmentalists worried.
Mm.
Proposed oil exploration within the eco-sensitive zone of Assam's Halongapar Given Sanctuary.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
Tough one.
The sanctuary is home to some really unique primate species like the hulak givens,
Right.
which are only found in northeast India.
Oh, wow.
So balancing economic development with conservation is always a challenge.
Always.
But in this case, the stakes are particularly high given the potential impact on these endangered species.
Right. So it highlights the need for a very careful assessment
Yes.
and a cautious approach when you're proposing development projects in these sensitive areas.
Absolutely.
Speaking of protecting natural resources, the Supreme Court has stepped in to stop any actions that might reduce forest areas.
Mm-hmm.
This is pending those legal challenges to the amendments made to the Forest Conservation Act.
Yeah, this is big for forest conservation in India.
Huge.
The court basically reaffirmed that broad definition of forest
Okay.
from a 1996 judgment, which means more land is protected.
Oh, that's a win.
It is a win for those who want stronger forest conservation.
Big win for the environment.
Definitely.
Okay, in a more positive light, let's celebrate World Wetlands Day
Yes.
with a spotlight on Uttar Pradesh's Parvati Arga Bird Sanctuary.
Beautiful place.
It's a haven for endangered vulture species,
Yes.
but it also reminds us of how important wetlands are to our ecosystem.
Absolutely. People often overlook wetlands, but they're essential.
Yeah.
They clean our water control floods, and they support so much biodiversity.
It's like they're the unsung heroes of the natural world.
They really are.
Okay. Now let's shift to the transportation sector.
Okay.
The tonnage tax scheme, which gives tax breaks to shipping companies, has been expanded to cover inland vessels.
Interesting.
Right.
This is a good move to promote water transport across India.
Right.
Using rivers and waterways to move cargo can ease congestion on our roads, make the whole transportation system more efficient and sustainable.
It's about thinking beyond roads and railways.
Yeah.
Tapping into the potential of India's vast network of waterways.
Exactly.
Okay, now let's talk about a development that could be a game changer for aspiring doctors and medical researchers.
Okay.
The launch of Garb-E-Inidrshi.
This is a fantastic resource.
Tell us about it.
It's a dashboard that provides insights into maternal and child health in South Asia. It gives you access to a ton of data clinical information images, biospecimens.
Wow.
Imagine the research possibilities,
Yeah.
the potential to really improve health care for mothers and children.
It's a great example of how data can be used for good.
Absolutely.
Okay, our last stop takes us to New Zealand,
All right.
where Mount Taranaki, a majestic volcano, has been granted legal personhood.
Interesting.
This is fascinating.
Oh.
It reflects this growing global movement to recognize the rights of nature. What this means is that Mount Taranaki, which is a sacred site for the indigenous Maori people,
Right.
is now recognized as a legal entity
Wow.
with its own rights and interests.
Like the Ganges and Yamuna rivers in India.
Exactly.
Fascinating.
It challenges us to rethink our relationship with nature,
It does.
acknowledge the inherent value of nature beyond just its economic use.
It raises big questions about our responsibility to nature.
Right.
And how we can protect and preserve our planet for future generations.
Absolutely a conversation that needs to continue.
Yes.
Not just in New Zealand, but globally.
Absolutely.
Now, before we wrap up this part, let's zoom back in on India
Okay.
and look at a few more quick hits that you as UPSC aspirants should know about.
All right, let's do it.
First up, we have a delightful discovery for bird enthusiasts.
Oh, fun.
The charming golden-headed cisticola was recently spotted in the Mathikettan Shola National Park in Kerala.
That's great news.
This sighting really highlights the amazing biodiversity of the Western Ghats,
Absolutely.
which is a global biodiversity hotspot.
It is.
And it reminds us how important it is to protect these unique ecosystems.
Definitely. It really does. And it shows, there's still so much out there to discover and protect in the natural world.
Absolutely. Now, on a slightly different note, the Department of Biotechnology has just unveiled a new tool called Ghar Drishti.
Yes, I've heard of this.
Now, what's the significance of this for UPSC aspirants like yourself?
Well, this is a really powerful tool, actually. It's a dashboard that offers insights into maternal and child health across South Asia, and it provides access to a huge database of clinical information, images, biospecimens, you name it.
Wow, so much data.
It's an invaluable resource for anyone studying public health policy or the social determinants of health, in the region.
Yeah, it's a great reminder that data can be a powerful force for good.
Absolutely, when it's used effectively.
Now, before we wrap up our deep dive into the key events of February 5th, 2025, let's circle back to a theme that's come up a few times today.
Okay.
This idea of balancing economic development with environmental protection.
Yeah, it's a constant tension, isn't it?
It is.
And we see it play out in so many different areas: energy policy, infrastructure development. The key is to find those ways to promote economic growth, but without compromising the health of our planet or the well-being of future generations.
It's about sustainability in the truest sense of the word.
Absolutely.
And that brings us to a final thought-provoking development: the granting of legal personhood to Mount Taranaki in New Zealand.
Yeah, this is a big step.
It is.
It reflects this growing global trend of recognizing the rights of nature,
It really forces us to confront our very anthropocentric view of the world
It does.
and consider alternative models of governance that prioritize the well-being of the planet.
Right alongside human interests.
It's a radical idea,
It is.
but one that might become increasingly relevant as we face these complex challenges of the 21st century.
For sure.
So what can you, as a future policymaker or administrator, what can you take away from all of this?
I think the biggest takeaway is the importance of a holistic perspective.
Okay.
Whether you're looking at economic policies, social welfare programs, or environmental regulations, you have to consider how these issues are all connected and the long-term implications of the decisions we make.
It's about seeing the bigger picture,
Exactly.
understanding how these seemingly separate events and trends
Yeah.
are all part of this larger complex web.
It's all connected.
That's what we aim to do here on the Deep Dive, to give you the knowledge and the insights you need to navigate this complex world and contribute to a better future.
And remember, staying informed is a journey.
It is.
It's about constantly engaging with the news, questioning assumptions, and seeking deeper understanding.
Well said. And with that, we wrap up our deep dive into the key events of February 5th, 2025.
A lot to think about.
We hope you found this exploration insightful and engaging. Join us again tomorrow for another journey into the world of current affairs.
See you then.
Until then, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep learning.
Absolutely. And, for those preparing for the UPSC exams, understanding these connections is crucial.
It is, especially for a current affairs deep dive like this one.
Right. We're looking at the big picture.
We are. And with that in mind, let's zero in on a few developments specifically relevant for our UPSC aspirants out there.
Okay. Sounds good.
Starting with something that's sure to come up, the Department of Biotechnology has unveiled a new tool called Ghar Drishti.
Right. A powerful tool.
So tell us, why should UPSC aspirants be paying attention to this?
Well, it's a dashboard that gives you all these insights into maternal and child health in South Asia.
Okay.
And it has a massive database with clinical data images, biospecimens, you name it.
So it's a treasure trove of information.
It is, and it's invaluable for anyone studying public health policy or, those social determinants of health.
Right, especially in the South Asian context.
Exactly.
So a great resource to be aware of.
Definitely.
And it highlights, how important data is becoming in understanding these complex issues.
Absolutely. Data is key.
All right, so as we wrap up our deep dive into the key events of February 5th, 2025,
Yeah.
I think it's worth emphasizing just how much ground we've covered today.
We have from trade wars to nuclear ambitions, AI regulations to the rights of nature.
It's a lot to process.
It is, but I think it's a great reminder that, staying informed is an ongoing journey.
Absolutely. It's not just about memorizing facts.
No, it's about understanding the connection.
Right. The why behind the what.
And it's about applying that knowledge, to analyze situations, think critically, and form your own perspective.
Exactly, because ultimately that's what's going to help you succeed in those UPSC exams and beyond.
Absolutely.
So keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep learning.
That's the key.
And we'll be here with you every step of the way, providing you with the insights and analysis you need to stay ahead of the curve.
See you next time.
Join us again tomorrow for another deep dive into current affairs. Until then, best of luck with your studies.